lady, welcome back to Safe Mommy, Safe Baby. And today I'll be discussing a story about one of my clients, my former clients. Of course, I asked her if I may share this, and here we go. So she has three children. Her first two children are close in age, about a year or two apart. And then her last one, she took a little bit of a gap, and her last baby is 4 years old now. And during the pregnancy with the last child, only during the, each belly is very different, but only during the pregnancy with the last child, she developed a ailment which her legs were a little swollen, but she just chalked it up to a pregnancy symptom. She had the baby and it went away. Now that the baby is 4 years old, it came back about a year ago. So, she just thought that maybe my legs are swollen, whatever. As it got more chronic, she went to the doctor and they diagnosed her with some circulatory issues within the legs, within the veins in her legs. So she reached back out to me and she reached back out to me for some things, and we were discussing and we got to unpack that a lot of her pain that she was experiencing in her legs was actually psychological, because this pain was directly affecting her sense of identity. And I know that much more people can relate to their sense of identity being jeopardized by something going on in their life. So the doctor he referred her to the surgeon for an operation. And at first she didn't like the sound of an operation, so she opted against it. She asked me my opinion. I told her ultimately her agency over her body is hers, but I gave her my opinion, and because she asked for it. And I told her that I would refer her to a holistic herbalist doctor, which I did. The doctor told her that he did not suggest that she undergo the operation. So even before the doctor told her that, she herself did not want to undergo the operation. So she just wanted to kind of see it through, let it take care of itself, elevate her legs, stay off of them, because what this ailment did to her is it made her legs very swollen. It was causing a lot of pain in her feet and her legs to the point where she was unable to stand for a lot of hours. And this is a woman who used to go to work and takes a lot of pride in being domestic around her home, a lot of pride in cooking for her children, cooking for her husband, taking care of her home, maintaining her home to the way that she wants it. So because this was going on with her legs, it was literally getting in between all of that. She was unable to cook dinner for her children and her husband. She said that her kids would come home from school and she'd noticed that their faces would be really sad whenever they asked her for dinner. And she would have to admit to them that, she couldn't cook and that she didn't like the way her home was looking, things of that sort. Obviously, she had to leave work for the time being, get on leave, medical leave, and things of the such. So I told her, we unpacked, and she agreed that the pain was indeed much more bothersome psychologically than physical. Not to water down her pain, not to water down her physical pain, but her physical pain was being uproared because of the psychological pain that she was going through. You see, this ailment completely knocked her sense of identity out of her. So she doesn't know who she is. She's having a hard time figuring out who is she outside of being a mother, outside of being a wife, outside of being a homemaker, outside of being a contributing factor to her household. She has no sense of identity outside of these things. So because this is literally jeopardizing her well-being, which her well-being is completely attached to her identity, she's feeling it even more. So out of desperation, she opted for the surgery. She had surgery last week, and she is in fact recovering from one leg. They did a procedure on one leg, and then however that turns out, if she's comfortable with the results, then they'll go ahead and do the other leg. And I mentioned her story to mention how often is it that women we tie our identity up in certain things that we do, in certain jackets that we wear. And it is important to remember that who you are is in you and it's not on you. It's like, I hate to correlate this to food, but it's the only thing that's coming to mind right now. So I love potato. Potato is my favorite vegetable. Boiled, fried. I never tried it raw, but I absolutely love potato. I could live off potato for the rest of my life. And let's say French fries, right? I love my potato. I love my French fries. And I do love my condiments. So with my French fries, I particularly like honey mustard. But if I didn't have the honey mustard, the star of the show is the French fries. The star of the show is not the honey mustard. I could always swap the honey mustard for some ketchup. And I could not have either or, because my love is for the French fries. So I think it is, and again, I hate to connect it to food, but it's the only example that's coming to mind right now. But I feel it for her. This is someone who I've known for years now. We've worked together, and outside of our work together, we've just grown a relationship with one another. And I really feel it for her, because her sense of identity, and she doesn't stand alone in this, is so wrapped up in her being a wife and her being a mother. She doesn't understand herself outside of those things. She has lost her sense of identity. And I say this to say there are so many other women who do this, and we forget who we are because of the different jackets that we wear, of the different titles that we have. God forbid that this ailment begins to creep up on her even more, and she becomes someone who has to spend much more time at home, or someone who has to spend so much more time in bed, or, on her behind, off of her feet. She is no less of the mother and the wife that she used to be. And she's healing now. I wish her all the very best in her healing journey, her physical healing journey, because I feel like people use the word healing and it's like, girl, you're not healing. You're just kind of getting over something. But no, she's literally healing from an operation. Because healing is such a strong word, and I hate that it's just like a buzzword now. Like, oh, I'm healing. Girl, you ain't healing, please. It was a scratch. You know what I'm saying? But anyhow, she's healing, and I wish her a speedy healing and a recovery for whatever it is that her body's going through. And I explain her story because I know that there are many other women who we find ourselves wrapped up in identities that are just jackets. So God forbid you lose that job. God forbid your house burns down. God forbid your partner isn't around anymore. These things will happen. Who are you? But so oftentimes you get yourself wrapped up, your identity completely wrapped up in your man. Now your man is gone and you don't know who you are. Your identity is completely wrapped up in your children. Now your children are gone, either naturally or they left the nest. Now you don't know who you are. You get yourself wrapped up in your career. Now you no longer have that career for whatever reason. Maybe the company went bankrupt. Maybe they figured that you're inadequate. For whatever reason, now you're at home, you don't know what to do with yourself because so much of your identity has been wrapped up. Forget about wrapped up. That thing has became your identity, like literally became it. You wore the coat so much that you forget the coat is just a coat. You can take it off, and underneath that coat is still you. Or you have to move. You changed your demographic. You relocated, and your identity is so tied up to that town, to that city, to that home, to that apartment, to that house. You don't even know who you are. You're like a fish out of water. So always remember that you are the base, and everything else is just the condiments. It's just the condiments. No matter how much you love them, no matter how much it means to you, do never get your identity mistaken for things, external things that you love that are beyond you. Never mistaken your core identity for external factors. I'm Grace, and I support women who have experienced family sexual abuse or incest to bridge the gap between their current reality and their dreams of motherhood. And I hope that this helps someone, really, because I see that So many times we get our identity so mixed up. Forget about intertwined. It's a jacket, and you forget that it's your jacket. And then you become uncomfortable when you take off the jacket. It's like you're cold. Why are you cold in the skin that you're in? You're everything you need to be. You don't need the jacket. It's an add-on.